headwind main straight.
So that'll be a tailwind going into the part of the track where you had that little issue.
Yeah, this looks really horrible to drive at the moment for Sainz. It just doesn't give you any confidence when every time you're turning in, you're thinking about already applying opposite lock. And yeah, the wind's picked up a little bit. 15 kph is actually not particularly windy, but I've driven here. And there we go, just turning in. That's the tailwind section where he went off the road then in towards turn 11. So headwind on the main straight, tailwind into turn 11. When you have the tailwind, you're missing a bit of downforce on the car, and it becomes pretty lively all of a sudden. I've driven here, and the headwind on the straight, you look down as you start the lap, and you can see your lap time delta just getting worse, and that's how you know really you're on a headwind on the straight. Literally, your straight line speed is less, and you can see that. And then you can brake a little bit later. So it feels nice in terms of grip, and you can't feel on the straight the wind speed. It's just about looking at the lap time and the speeds. But when you run around here, or I've cycled around here, it channels so much on that main straight. You can really feel the wind picking up, and I think Carlos is probably getting a little bit of that feeling right now.
So as Carlos continues around the track here in Bahrain, time to jump down to the paddock. The story last year in testing was, of course, Aston Martin straight out of the blocks, straight on the pace. Aston Martin this morning, and Fernando Alonso, the most laps on the board, 77. Lawrence Barretto has caught up, or is catching up right now, with team principal Mike Crack. Lawrence?
Thanks very much, Will. Mike, Will was just saying how strong Aston Martin started last time pre-season testing. You had 77 laps on the board today, the most of any team. Much the same as last year then, in such high spirits?
We shall see. I think it was a good morning. I agree with you. It was a good start. We had quite an extensive program. Everything turned really like a clock. We were out when the light went green, and we managed to do our whole program, which was good. You know, a lot of aero data, cooling, you know, all your normal stuff that you have to work through at the beginning of a season. And we were happy the way it went. There was no big issues, but I think, you know, we have to also credit all the teams, because there was not a single red flag this morning, which shows, you know, that the teams put these 10 prototypes on track, you know, with a very high level of maturity, a high level of engineering behind. So credit to all, and let's hope that we can continue like that for the next 2.5 days.
Well, hopefully so. Fingers crossed. Was Fernando's feedback, or early feedback at least, positive?
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. We had a promotional event in Silverstone a couple of weeks, or last week, and here obviously it's a different track. It's a bit hotter, you know, so you have different information. But he was quite happy with how it went, you know. So I think it's important, you know, when you have a new car, that you have a good feeling to start with, that you can do the laps without any big glitches, and that everything runs to program. And in this case here, I'm quite happy. You know, you see, the team has done a great job. You know, we were even finished earlier than we were thinking.
Ah, that's a really good sign.
Yes.
Lance obviously in the car this afternoon. What's the kind of program he's going to be running through? More of the same, a continuation, I guess, of this morning?
Yeah, again, you know, Lance needs to get a feeling for the car. You need to learn the car. If I do this change, because when the racing starts, you know, you cannot really experiment anymore. Then we will have a couple of race runs on the program anyway, because you need to double check your reliability and really make sure that, you know, everything is really working as you expect it. Yeah, and then we try to make it faster, simple. But I think it's the same for all the other 9.
In terms of when you're kind of seeing if those checks, making sure everything is working as expected, is the correlation good as well? Because with such limited testing, if the wind tunnel test and the CFD is matching what you've seen so far on track, that's a really positive sign, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the correlation is key at the end of the day, you know, because you mentioned it, there's very little testing these days, or let's say testing in a non-competitive environment is very little. So that is why, you know, you need to always make sure that your tools are working the way you want them to work. You have seen, I think there was not one car without an aerodynamic rake somewhere. People want to correlate their flow fields, you know, compared to CFD, and this is not only for us. I mean, every team does that. that kind of exercise, and as soon as this validation exercise is finished, I think we will continue to see it over the next days. Then you move on, in terms of setup work, try different things, but this validation data is key and essential for everybody to have.
As you move on to looking into that setup work over the next couple of days, will we see some new parts? Is the plan to kind of continue to upgrade this car over the course of this test?
Yeah, again, that is something that you have on your program, because from the moment that you have to say, this is the start of season car, the development is obviously continuing, and we will have some parts to test. We had parts today, we have parts tomorrow, and we will have parts on the third day. But that is the normal development process. It's brutal. The development race is a very, very tough one, and we want to be ready for that. And we have, I think, put in place a very strong upgrade plan over the year. And the first small steps we will have here already.
Now, one of the big stories over the winter was the driver market and how that's really kicked into gear already. It's been a couple more weeks now since your launch. Has anything changed? Have you had more conversations with Fernando, with Lance as well, and do you kind of know where your driver lineup's shaping for 2025?
Yeah, it's in full swing, isn't it? I think in the press conference just before, it was also only about driver market. Last week I said we have not turned the wheel, now we have turned some wheels, but it did not slow down at all, the whole driver market discussion. And it's good. I think it's good for the sport. It's good for the fans. That we talk about these things. Everybody likes to see these moves. But for us, I think we are very happy with the drivers we have. We are having conversations with both. How we go on about the future. And I said it already many times. We're really happy with both, and we would like to continue with both.
Fernando was saying when we chatted last week that he wants to give you guys like almost first review. He's always ready talking to you guys. He wants to stay at Aston, but obviously he also said he's the only world champion left on the grid. He's going to be in demand. Just how tricky are those conversations, and how much pressure is there on you, I guess, to get the job done?
To be honest, the conversations are not tricky because we are dealing between mature people. It's actually. It is nice to see, like everybody just makes his points clear. There is not much tactics, We want Fernando. We made it clear from the beginning. And then it's a matter of trying to finalize that. I think he said it before. He would like to stay, but he's also attractive to others, as you just mentioned. So let's see what the next weeks bring. But we are quite confident that we can continue.
Great stuff, Mike. Well, as ever, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of the test and good luck. And I'll throw back to you, Will and Jolie in the box.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Mike Crack. Delighted to say that Aston's third driver, Felipe Drugovich, has joined us in the commentary box. Felipe, hello. How are you? How is your winter?
Yeah, hello. How are you guys? Yeah, it's been a really good winter for me. In my case, it's been summer in Brazil. So yeah, quite a long one, quite a long time there. So really enjoyed it there.
Good. Crazy morning for Aston Martin. 77 laps on the board, no reliability issues. What's the vibe like down in the garage?
Yeah, it's really good. I think people are enjoying themselves there. The car seems to be working as expected. But yeah, it's all relative, You need to know how much also the others are improving. So yeah, I think it'll be a good year for us. That's the main focus, just to keep improving, keep moving forward, and achieve more podiums and points and whatever. But I think the mood in the team is really nice now.
You're getting FOMO this year after you were driving. What did you get? A day or day and a half last year?
In the test.
In the test.
Yeah, in the test I got 2 mornings.
2 mornings, so a day complete. Are you missing it this year? Watching on?
Yeah.
Back to reality of third driver life.
Yeah. It's a bit quiet for me. Really missing the times from last year, but well, it is what is expected for me to do. So I'm chill with that, and enjoying it.
Are you going to be spending a lot of time in the sim this year?
Yeah, I think similar to last year. I think mostly, one day before each event that I go to at least. So yeah, quite a bit of time there.
Now, explain to us, because last year Aston Martin came out of the blocks incredibly, shocked the entire paddock, shocked the world with the step that they'd taken. It was absolutely huge. And for the early part of the season, Aston were clearly the second quickest team and difficult to beat, regular podium finishes. Then a kind of a plateau, a bit of a drop, and then a bit of an upturn towards the end of the season. What was that like from within the team? And at what point did the team realise that perhaps there'd been a slight misunderstanding on the progression or on the development?
Well, I think they understood it straight away. You know, as soon as some updates from the team started to come in, and also especially updates from other teams started to come in, and the others started to improve a lot, and we didn't. So yeah, I think that was a bit difficult throughout the middle of the year, but luckily they understood it straight away. It's just, those updates, they take quite a bit of time to be produced and studied and developed. So yeah, I think as soon as they were put into the car at the end of the year, we were back on track. So yeah, it was a bit of a difficult mid part of the season, but we ended on a high, so that was good. Yeah.
It's an interesting art, isn't it, really, upgrading the car, because we now have the sliding scale in Formula One, where the teams that do worse in the Constructors' Championship the year before get more wind tunnel, more CFD time, basically have a better chance to upgrade and develop the car. And we saw that the whole field is condensing a little bit, but through the year, just because you have upgrade time available doesn't mean that you can necessarily find the successful upgrades. We were talking about Haas earlier on this morning, had a big upgrade package in Austin, found absolutely no pace. Other teams as well that have loads of upgrade time available, but they can't necessarily make the car go quicker. And then you look at a team like Red Bull, who have the least time, and they had a penalty on top of that as well, and yet they're able to make the upgrades work. So much of it is about understanding your car first, getting good correlation, and then trying to get it to work when you hit the track. But that's where I feel like Aston Martin obviously had a tough time of it last year, but everyone in the team seems happy to have at least understood what happened last year, and they seem to be more confident over the winter that that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I think that's at least our objective for this year, and I think we managed to understand what was the weaknesses of the car from last year, and I think that's the main point, as you said, just understanding the car and knowing what we need to do and what we need to focus on to just to bring the upgrades for this year.
And exciting times for Aston Martin. Obviously, you guys moved into the new factory last year at Silverstone, and it's an absolutely incredible, such an impressive place. But the wind tunnel comes online later this year as well. How much of a help is that going to be for the team to be able to have everything on one site?
Yeah, it's going to be a big help. I think for now, I think we're still, provisional in some places, but I think it's going to be a great step for the team just to have everything in one place, just the work speed, just to have everything in the same places changes a lot in the speed of especially with the development with the car and everything. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good step forward again.
Why is no one going out on track, Felipe? We're nearly half an hour into the afternoon session. Why is Lance not heading out?
They're waiting for me to have my chat here.
Yeah.
So it's absolute silence.
It.
No, but I think the track is probably a bit too hot, and yeah, it's quite gusty. I think drivers are complaining about it before, and yeah, it's not really a time that you go out on track to find a setup solution, because qualifying is going to be by the evening and different conditions.
We've been speaking about Fernando, the huge influence obviously he has at the team, the focal point that he is, the experience that he has. What's it like working with somebody like Fernando? What does he draw out of everyone at the team?
No, it's been great since the beginning, and to be fair, I was quite surprised to see the way he works, and he directs the team very well, especially in the debriefs and stuff like that. The way he's able to be so precise with the feedback and remember everything, which is sometimes I even be impressed with how much he remembers from the session. Like lap 3, second corner, I remember that this happened and stuff like that. So that's some impressive stuff that he can direct the team and give the feedback to the team. So it's really good to have him there.
You have so many experienced members of this team now. We've just heard from Mike Crack, obviously massively experienced within the sport. Martin Whitmarsh, of course, as well, a part of the team and was with McLaren for such a long time. It feels like all of the pieces of the puzzle are slotting into place at Aston Martin. But what is the atmosphere like within the team in terms of the pressure that either the team is placing on itself, or that Lawrence Stroll, who obviously has huge expectations and desires for the team to be fighting for not just podiums now, but for wins and to push the team on towards the World Championship?
Yeah, I think the goals for the team are very clear, and there's no extra pressure, I would say. There's just, the right amount on everyone. Everyone is very, keen on pushing forward. I think last year has been a big help for the team just to, turn around all the, minds of everyone in the team. I think before they didn't think this was possible, and now they think this is possible. And I think this, this step ahead that the team can do in the future, probably just fighting for wins and championships, takes a long time. And I think the first thing that needs to change is just the mindset from everyone. And then I think this is, coming through now.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Well, given we've got nothing happening on track, let's look at the fastest lap of this morning. Jolien, Felipe, why don't you talk us around this Bahrain International Circuit and this lap from Max Verstappen?
So this was Max on the C3 tyre, finding a little bit of grip, and this is where I think the Red Bull car's starting to show its true colours. It's obviously quite a different design. It's aggressive, as the team have called it, in their direction, but already through the first sector, that sequence was catching a lot of drivers out earlier on. Rear grip was really difficult, but the Red Bull suddenly looks quite compliant on this tyre, Felipe.
Yeah, it does. I think the rear is quite solid, as you can see. No snaps or anything. Even though it was quite gusty, you would expect to be a bit more messy than that. So yeah, it looks really good from them. And
he goes way off track at turn 4, but it doesn't mind about that. There's no one watching or caring right now in testing, apart from us dialing into it all. But that maybe helped him out with a tenth of his 7/10 gain over the field earlier on. Of course, we don't know the fuel or engine modes, but just look how tiny this is. A little bit squirmy there on the throttle as he tried to turn and steer away from that curve, which gives you traction difficulties. But generally, it looks like he's able to place the car quite well, considering this is a medium compound tyre on the day one morning with a car that's a step into the unknown. And he hasn't done that many laps before this either. It's all been sliding around, as we saw with Carlos on the harder tyres. But generally, I think this looks a really composed, measured lap, and I think this is generally quite a warning shot to everyone else watching on. And we'll see him through the final corner as well, turning it in. No big stabs at the wheel on entry. It's tiny, minuscule corrections on the exit, but if you're not doing that probably at this stage, then you're not squeezing on the throttle probably hard enough. It's always going to be traction limited coming out of that final corner particularly. Yeah, quite a good lap, I think.
Yeah, it was a really good lap, to be fair. I think he didn't have not even more than 1 or 2 laps before that. I think it was probably his third actual push lap. And I was very happy that there's one car on the track.
Car on track, klaxon.
Watching that whole onboard of Max again, I think that's...
It looks good, huh?
It looks good, yeah. That Red Bull looks good. I think because we didn't know if it might look bad, and that's a stupid thing to say, but Red Bull have been so good, so of course they'd be flying this morning, but because they've changed the car and they've gone quite adventurous with the design, you wonder if the first morning is the time where, it's actually quite unsettled, it's not right in the curbs, they're struggling to find a balance. But okay, they did on the hard tyres, but on the medium tyres there, first morning, that looked absolutely decent from Red Bull. And when Mercedes went for their zero pod concept 2 years ago, and even last year watching that car on track, the car looked like the rear end was just stepping out randomly on the drivers, and that's what a lot of the other teams are struggling with.
Track temp? 37.5. Just dropped about 3.5 from the AM session.
Those are the radio messages we live for in testing.
Have we got a clause that says only weather radio can be played out?
I think Sam Collins is in charge of the radio.
Don't. Sam will tell us it's about to rain soon.
Probably. The issue that Mercedes always had with that zero pod right from the start was the porpoising, the bottoming out, whatever you want to call it. That onboard. Any worries over quite how much the car sounded like it was grounding around the track?
I think it's